Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the worst pick in every single round of 2023 fantasy football drafts from round 1 all the way up until round 10. Once you get past round 10, I don't want to say any of those guys are bad picks, because at that point, they're late round lotto tickets. I might not like certain players, but there's an argument to be made for those guys because of the upside they could possess. So before we get on into the worst pick in every single round, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you leave a like on today's video. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into the worst pick in every round of your 2023 fantasy football drafts. We begin with the worst pick in the first round, Saquon Barkley, running back of the New York Football Giants, composite ADP, running back 3 at pick number 8. Now, before anyone gets their panties in a bunch here, Saquon Barkley is an incredibly talented running back, one of the best running backs in the NFL. The problem is where he is coming off the board. He's coming off the board as the RB3, so the only running backs going ahead of him are Austin Eckler as well as Christian McCaffrey. In my opinion, I would rather have Bijan Robinson, I would rather have 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, and I would rather have Tony Pollard ahead of Saquon Barkley. Now, could Saquon Barkley outscore all 3 of those running backs that I just named? Of course, but I would much rather have them. I just have them ranked ahead of Saquon this year. I think the Giants are going to be a great team. They're going to run the ball a decent amount, but I feel like the upside of those other 3 running backs that I listed is a little bit higher. I could see all of those guys finishing as the RB number 1. So again, I'm not discrediting Saquon Barkley. If he fell to me in the second round, I would be ecstatic about that. But at pick number 8, when there are other players available, a lot of the time, like Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, these players that I really like going behind Saquon Barkley, to me, it just seems a little bit crazy that he is ranked as the running back 3 at pick number 8, based upon the composite ADP from ESPN, NFL Sleeper, and RT Sports. Again, he is still one of the best running backs in the NFL, right? 2nd in breakaway runs, 6th in evaded tackles, 5th in yards created. This is one of the premier running backs in the National Football League, but someone's got to be the worst pick in the first round, and for me, that is going to be Saquon Barkley. Moving to the second round, we have Patrick Mahomes, quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, composite ADP, quarterback 1 at pick 15. I think if you are taking a quarterback in the second round, you are doing your team a disservice. Sure, is Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in the NFL? Of course, but at the end of the day, there are so many skill position players available in the second round that have the upside to finish first at their position that I think reaching for a guy like Patrick Mahomes in the second round is as insane as it gets. I don't even have Patrick Mahomes ranked as the quarterback number 1 this season. He's my quarterback 3 behind Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. So based upon where I have ranked Patrick Mahomes and based upon the fact that he's going in the middle of the second round in a lot of drafts, there are so many good players still available by the time Patrick Mahomes comes off the board a ton. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, sometimes Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, all still available, Derrick Henry, and people are electing to go with Patrick Mahomes. To me, that is a little bit crazy. I don't think you need to draft Patrick Mahomes in the second round to have a successful fantasy football team. Sure, is it like wrapping a condom around your team because it is incredibly safe to have one of the best quarterbacks, the best quarterback in the NFL? Of course, but it is simply just not for me. I would much rather have basically every single player going in the second round ahead of Patrick Mahomes, and then you can come back in the 4th or the 5th round to get Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields, who I think could easily outscore Patrick Mahomes. Moving to the 3rd round, we got DK Metcalf, wide receiver of the Seattle Seahawks, composite ADP, wide receiver 15 at pick 32. Now, the argument that I'm about to make against DK Metcalf may end up being fugazi this season, because Jackson Smith-Njigba, their first-round NFL draft pick, is going to have surgery, and that injury could lead to 5-6 potential weeks missed into the season. He still has not had surgery yet, but DK Metcalf struggled last year in terms of points per game when it was just him and Tyler Lockett. So even if JSN misses, say, 5-6 games at the extreme on the season, is DK Metcalf going to be able to pay off at ADP? Wide receiver 15 at pick number 32. I just genuinely believe the Seattle Seahawks have too many cooks in the kitchen. They have Metcalf, they have Lockett in my pocket skirt, they have JSN, they have Noah Fant, they have Kenneth Walker, they have Zach Charbonnet, right? This is a loaded offense, plus Geno Smith is their quarterback. Now, I know Geno Smith looked great last season. I'm not trying to shit on Geno Smith. He was actually much better than I thought he was going to be, but when push comes to shove, I think taking DK Metcalf with this many players in the offense, I really don't think he's going to finish as a top 12 receiver this season. Now, if we fast forward to the end of the season and one of the other guys ends up getting hurt on the team, maybe JSN misses more time than I predicted, then DK Metcalf could end up smashing. But I don't really want to be drafting a player in the 3rd round in that loaded of an offense when I have so much worries about him. Again, this guy was 11th in targets, 10th in receptions, 15th in receiving yards, 20th in total touchdowns. He's still a great wide receiver. I just don't think he has much upside as the other wide receivers going in his range. A guy like Calvin Ridley, who is the undisputed wide receiver number 1 in his offense, is going a round later in an offense that I think is going to be better than the Seahawks. In the 4th round, the worst pick for me is DK Metcalf's teammate, Kenneth Walker III, running back of the Seattle Seahawks, composite ADP running back 17 at pick 45. I have legitimate worries that this offense is going to be a committee, and as much of a committee as it could get. Now, is Kenneth Walker going to be the lead back on the team? 100%, but is Zach Charbonnet going to heavily cut into that? I believe so. It wouldn't shock me at all if a couple weeks into the season, Kenneth Walker is getting 60% of the snaps and Zach Charbonnet is getting 40% of the snaps. Zach Charbonnet is a much better pass catcher than Kenneth Walker. He had 35 targets last year, 27 receptions, 165 receiving yards, right? That isn't all that great in PPR or full PPR leagues for Kenneth Walker. So this added competition in Zach Charbonnet is going to potentially derail a great season out of Kenneth Walker. Again, all of these 4 players that I have discussed, I think are incredibly talented. It is just for Saquon Barkley, the guys going behind him, I like better. For Patrick Mahomes, I think it's insane to draft a quarterback early on in the 2nd round, and I think it's even more insane to select Mahomes that early when there are a lot of other quarterbacks that I can see finishing ahead of him. For Metcalf, it's just the loaded competition there, and it's the exact same thing with his Seattle counterpart in Kenneth Walker. I worry too much about Zach Charbonnet to believe fully in Kenneth Walker. Also, in terms of efficiency stats, last season, Kenneth Walker had negative 28.3 expected points added, 148th at running back. And what that stat tells you is that any running back could have been catapulted into that situation, and they probably would have had a good year. Now, again, I'm not trying to say that Kenneth Walker's some schlub running back, but when push comes to shove, I really do believe Kenneth Walker is going to end up as a big fat bust this season, especially since you'll see in some drafts, people don't know Zach Charbonnet is there, and he might go ahead of the 4th round. Moving to the 5th round, we got Alvin Kamara, running back of the New Orleans Saints, composite ADP running back 20 at pick 58. Now, last year, it was very clear watching the games that Alvin Kamara had regressed. He ranked 46th in true yards per carry, 25th in yards per touch, 48th in breakaway run rate, and 25th in dominator rating at the running back position. They add a lot of competition to this backfield in the offseason. They bring in Jamal Williams, who is a touchdown vulture. This is a guy that could easily score 10 plus touchdowns for the Saints, because on the goal line, it's not going to be Alvin Kamara no more. It is going to be Jamal with 2 A's Williams. They draft Kendre Miller, who is going to work into some of Alvin Kamara's pass catching role, in my opinion. And they also still have Taysom Hill, who has some type of fucking blackmail on the Saints organization, because for some reason, Taysom Hill is still on the team, and you already know Taysom Hill scoring at least 5 touchdowns, and it's probably going to be closer to 10. So when they get on the goal line, not only do you have to worry about the fact that Jamal Williams is there, you also have to worry about the fact that they might run some fake fucking 360 no-scope Call of Duty style where Taysom Hill gets the ball, there's a 360 pirouette over the end zone, hops on in there, hop, skip, and a jump like a fucking rabbit. Alvin Kamara is in the worst situation he has been in his NFL career, except for, I guess, his rookie year when there was someone starting ahead of him, but he eventually eclipsed them. Now, again, I still think that Alvin Kamara won't be as productive as he's been in the past. He's still a decent running back. I'll give him that, right? He's not completely washed. He shouldn't be kicked out of the National Football League. But the fact that he is also suspended for the first 3 games of the season, and you have to draft him in the 5th round. The guy you draft in the 5th round, you can't play for the first 3 weeks of the season, which is even more of a dagger into your soul, Julius Caesar style, if your league doesn't let you put suspended players on your IR spot. Alvin Kamara, to me, is as close to a full fade as it gets. I just do not trust Kamara in this system in New Orleans. There is just far too much competition for him. Moving to round number 6, we have DeAndre Swift, running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. Composite ADP running back 27 at pick 69. Very nice. I like. If you guys have enjoyed this far, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. So running back 21, can you do something for me in in PPR last season? Running back 16 in PPR points per game. So DeAndre Swift, very talented NFL talent, great pass catcher, also solid at running the rock as a whole. 8th in true yards per carry, 2nd in yards per touch, 16th in juke rate, and 5th in breakaway run rate. The problem is all of this news out of Philadelphia has made me shit bricks. I am so nervous to draft DeAndre Swift because of all this news about Kenneth Gainwell, them talking about how Kenneth Gainwell is going to have a much stronger role in this offense than we previously believed. The fact that DeAndre Swift is still coming off the board in the 6th round seems like a very risky selection. Now, I talked about this in the draft strategy video, and I talk about this a bunch in my videos, right? As you get deeper and deeper into the draft, you really don't need to take the safest pick, right? Wrap that condom, the Durex, the Trojan around your fantasy football team. But at the same time, DeAndre Swift just seems like a unneeded risk. They still have Penny, even though there's rumors about them cutting Penny. There's talks about them trading for Jonathan Taylor. There is talks about Gainwell being the RB1 on the team. Now, if push comes to shove and at the end of the season, DeAndre Swift is the RB1 on the team and he has a great season, would it surprise me? No. It wouldn't, because I think DeAndre Swift is still good, right? I don't think DeAndre Swift has lost any of his luster. I think the Detroit Lions coaches just didn't like DeAndre Swift. But at the end of the day, in the 6th round, with so many question marks around DeAndre Swift, I just simply do not feel comfortable drafting him. Before we get on into round 7 through 10, the worst picks in those rounds, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. If you are new to Underdog Fantasy, they are the best place to play fantasy football, best ball this summer. If you don't know what best ball is, it's the best part about fantasy football. It's the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, and no in-season management. At the end of every single week, Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineups for you, which means you can seemingly do 100+ drafts because you don't have to worry about waking up in the morning, setting your lineup, or doing the waiver wires, making trades, things like that. They have the biggest fantasy football contest ever. $25 to enter, 150 max entries, $3 million to first place, $15 million in total prizes. Now, if you don't want to play in a big tournament, you can join their things that are basically like leagues. It's a cash game. You versus 11 other people, and the top 2 places make money with as low of a buy-in as $3. If this sounds interesting to you, make sure you use promo code Notorious or click on the link in the video description for a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. So you deposit $100, they give you an additional $150, additional $50, $25, additional $25. Minimum deposit on there is $10. Make sure you guys check it out. I love drafting on Underdog. Moving now to the 7th round, we have a guy that for years I have been fading, but he shocked me last year, and that is Evan Engram, Easy-E, tight end of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Composite ADP, tight end 8 at pick 77, tight end 5 in PPR, and tight end 7 in PPR points per game. What really scares me away from Evan Engram is the addition of Calvin Ridley. I genuinely believe that Calvin Ridley is going to be a target hog in this offense. Engram last year was 5th in targets at tight end, 3rd in receptions, 4th in receiving yards, and 12th in terms of total touchdowns. I think that the addition of Calvin Ridley is gonna not completely devalue Evan Engram, but hurt him enough to where the other tight ends going around Evan Engram just feel like better picks. For instance, Pat Freiermuth, sure, they bring in Darnell Washington, but the thoughts on him is that he's more of like the 6th O lineman, right? Maybe he'll score a couple touchdowns this year because he's a big bastard, right? Bro is built like Shaquille fucking O'Neal, but I think I would rather have Freiermuth than him. I would rather have Njoku. I would rather have Dalton Schultz. So why pay up at pick 77 when you can wait 12, 24 picks and get a different tight end later? Now, I have him ranked ahead of Tyler Higbee, but if I waited 4 rounds and got Tyler Higbee later, it feels just about the same. When push comes to shove, I think that Tyler Higbee could easily outscore Evan Engram. There's an argument that Tyler Higbee is the number 2 target on the LA Rams. You could say that Evan Engram is the number 4, number 5 target on the Jacksonville Jaguars, now with Calvin Ridley there. They have Zay Jones. They have Christian Kirk. They have Travis Etienne. They also have Tank Bigsby, right? There's an offense with a lot of talent. I do love Calvin Ridley because I believe he is the stone cold lock to be the number 1 receiver there, but I think Evan Engram might fall out of favor in Jacksonville. Still think he's a good player. I still think that if you wanted to draft him, go right ahead. I'm not saying you can't draft any of these players, but I don't really want anything to do with Evan Engram because I just like the tight ends going later better. And a lot of them really feel just about the same, so why not wait a round or 2 to get your tight end? Moving now to round number 8, we got Treyon Burks, wide receiver, the Tennessee Titans, composite ADP, wide receiver 40, pick 96. Now, Treyon Burks is still dealing with injury. Something we talk about a lot on this channel is not to chase injuries. Injuries are going to find you in a back alley, take your shoes, take your money, take your phone, and fucking give you a wedgie, right? The injuries are going to find you, so don't chase the injuries down. Plus, this was an offense where I was kind of interested in Treyon Burks, right? But before they had D-Hop, it was Nick Westbrookie, Cain, Chris Moore, Kyle Phillips, and Chig. Chig was really the only competition for targets in this offense, but the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, who just sucks in targets like fucking Tiana Trump is sucking on some wee-wee, right? So Treyon Burks is in a situation where now they are a run-heavy team. We already know that with Derrick Henry, Tractor Cito, they are going to try to send motherfuckers into Middle Earth by stiff-arming them, right? So they want to run the ball a lot. They also, in the red zone, are going to be targeting either Chig or DeAndre Hopkins. So Treyon Burks kind of feels like the odd man out, plus he's already hurt, and I don't want to be chasing injuries. So Treyon Burks, I hope he has a great NFL career, but right now with D-Hop there, with him dealing with the injuries, with Ryan Tannehill being the quarterback, I think it is better to just avoid Mr. Burks. Moving into the 9th round here, we got Mr. Corvette, JuJu Smith-Schuster, wide receiver of the New England Patriots, composite ADP, wide receiver 45 at pick 104. I think Antonio Brown, AB, put that shit on, kind of altered our brain on JuJu Smith-Schuster. JuJu Smith-Schuster is what could be described as the perfect complement to a great receiver in the NFL. With Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, JuJu was eating 5-star fucking meals. He was eating buffets of targets, right? Because not the best corner was on him. The best corner was on AB, and the defense just really couldn't figure out JuJu. But when JuJu was elevated into the number 1 role in Kansas City, he did not pay off at all. Wide receiver 27 in PPR, 37 in PPR points per game. He goes from Patrick Mahomes in one of the best offenses in the NFL and can't put up numbers. He didn't even get 1,000 fucking yards in Kansas City. I know, Nick, you always talk about how the Patriots offense is going to be better this year, and I think I do agree with that. But they're still a team that likes to run the ball a lot. The opposite of the Kansas City Chiefs. Their quarterback is Mac Jones, who is the opposite of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a stud. Again, Nick, you just said not to draft him because he's going too high. But Patrick Mahomes is a stud. Night and day difference between Pat Mahomes and Mystic Mac Jones. His team is not going to be great. And JuJu isn't even, in my opinion, the best receiver on the team. You could make an argument that Tyquan Thornton, you can make an argument that Devontae Parker are better than JuJu Smith-Schuster. You give this guy every opportunity in the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's flopping like a fish. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. The Patriots are a defensive team that likes to run the football. JuJu Smith-Schuster is fucked in New England. He should have just taken less money and stayed in Kansas City. At least then you can galaxy brain yourself into drafting him because he's the best receiver the Chiefs got. I don't think he's the best receiver the Patriots got. I worry heavily for TikTok boy, JuJu Smith-Schuster. Moving to the final pick, the worst pick, a Kansas City Chief, Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, the Chiefs, composite ADP, wide receiver 46 at pick 111. Now, I am not a doctor. I am far from a doctor, but Kadarius Toney gets hurt when he has a dream and he trips in his dream. He wakes up with a broken fucking leg. Kadarius Toney gets hurt lacing up the cleats. Kadarius Toney has only been good in the National Football League when used in a very minuscule role. When you try to play him too much, he's too brittle. They have MVS, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Justin Ross. They have a lot of players on this offense. Could, realistically, Kadarius Toney be the best receiver on this team in terms of talent? Yeah, he was drafted highly. I thought he was a good player coming out of college. He just can't stay on the field. Even in the 10th round where you try to avoid risks, just seems too gross for me. Mahomes already spreads the ball out a ton. Kadarius Toney, again, can't stay healthy. 9 games played last year with 5 starts, but he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Yeah, with not a lot of usage. If they try to ramp this guy up, it is going to be a colossal mistake. A humongous disaster because he's going to get hurt again. Now, if somehow, miraculously, Kadarius Toney's able to stay healthy all year, he gets that high workload, then there's a chance he pays off in the 10th round. But he is a guy that is as easy to miss in fantasy football as possible, right? He is the easiest guy to, you see him on the board, you just don't even look at him, right? You just close your eyes, you don't draft him, right? He's not one of those guys that I'm even willing to take one of those shots from the moon in that Stephen Curry meme, right? Where he's on the moon and he's shooting the ball and it's like, you up to earth, you know, trying to talk to a woman. No, you don't want to do that with Kadarius Toney. I don't think he's worth that deep dart throw. I just don't think he's good enough. I don't think his health is there. I think Kadarius Toney is a very easy player to just say, this guy's going to be a bust. So before we skedaddle out of here again, to give a recap on the players, the worst pick in every round of fantasy football drafts: Saquon Barkley, Pat Mahomes, DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Evan Engram, Treyon Burks, JuJu Smith-Schuster, Corvette, and Kadarius Toney. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think. You're like, Nick, you're a fucking idiot. All these players are great. Let me know in the comment section. I love talking to you guys down there. I hope you guys all have a great one. Click on one of the videos on the screen right now. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. See you guys tomorrow with some more bangers for videos. We're getting eerily close to the fantasy football season. I am erect under my desk thinking about it. Love you guys all. Have a great one. And as always, good boy.